that again. So we were just live for a hot second, and then for some reason someone called and my phone kicked us off. But here we are, Gigi, Jojo, SBS Co, Spiritual Bitch Slap Co. We are back on my channel because, again, for those of you that maybe missed last week, we usually used to go live on our Spiritual Bitch Slap Co channel, but we don't have the amount of followers that now Instagram requires to go live. So here we are going live on my personal account, and then it will be all held every week, every time we go live, because it probably will be multiple times a week. It'll all be held in our Spiritual Bitch Slap vault, which right now you can click the website link below, which will just take you to our YouTube. So if you are enjoying these conversations or you want to catch up on past conversations, don't kick the pole. Go ahead and click and subscribe, like, be a part of the conversation, because that's really what these are. My mom and I, for the last, forever, but really for the last 5 to 7 years, have always had really beautiful transmission-like conversations. And that's what we want to bring forward here. So Mom, anything you want to highlight before we dive into the topic of today?
Yeah. Jordy and I guess it began in COVID. We started talking about, because that's when really shifts started happening where you no longer could fake it till you make it, because it was just became too powerful of a transition that was happening. And so we wanted to be very clear that what we were bringing forward was not information, not, knowledge is a beautiful thing, but more coming from our heart and how we are all created in so far as we are not this 3D skin suit. So we wanted to get very clear about that. However, we also ascribe to the ego is not the enemy. It has a role and has a goal. And we're going to go forward into that. We want you to remember who you are. We want you to know the truth of who you are in your essence. And that's kind of when you were little kids, they're growing up and things happen and mistakes are made and losses are happening. And it's not who you are. That's just something that happened. So let's go back to what the truth is. And that's what our conversations are all about.
Yeah. And a lot of it too came from me having a bit of a pushback in doing all of the things that we are told we are supposed to do, not by you, not just by society, not by your parents, but inherently we go through phases in life. And I have gone through so many beautiful ones. And when we started, me asking you to bring these dialogues forward for others, I realized I wasn't the only one going through these transitions. Yeah. Being a late in life mother, an entrepreneur, multifaceted, multidimensional being, many of the women and men that I talk to on a regular basis, they have multiple lanes that they're bringing forward and trying to figure out. And I thought it was super important to have these conversations out loud, not to fix anyone, not to fix myself, but to maybe have a golden thread that allows people moments throughout their day where they can wake up to the truth of who they are. And when we do that consistently, our lives open, full, complete, and transformed. And so I want to kick us off with this topic today, because I've had several conversations lately, and being one that has grown up in the personal development world, I have come to realize that there are half-truths, and it's not about fixing yourself, and it's not about sabotaging behaviors and sabotaging beliefs, or limiting behaviors, limiting beliefs. But it's actually something much more simple than that. And I would love to take people on this journey of remembering who they are, why we tax so much of ourselves with fixing the issue, correcting the sabotaging belief, believing that I have to kill the ego to correct my value, all of these different things that you and I talk about so much, but through the lane of course correcting, or it's not even course correcting, it's just coming to a new understanding of what limiting beliefs, self-sabotage, and behaviors are all about. So where to begin?
You had mentioned, I caught you said they're half-truths. They're not truths at all. They're not real. They're lies. And it's okay. It's okay, because they're coming and stored in our unconscious. And the role, and again, we'll always be going into the aspects of your consciousness, because this, everybody's, we're here. This is the school of awakening. And for Jordan and I, it's the school of recognition that you're already awake. Because if it's a school of awakening, that means I'm asleep. That means you're in the broken structure and you're going to fix yourself.
And you have to do something.
To wake up.
Yeah.
Your essence is awake, right? The essence of who you are. And so these aren't half truths. They're lies. Now, let me explain this. Limiting beliefs, we're all about including our humanity, right, in our sovereignty. And so we experience them as real. And you have, what is a belief? It's just a thought that you have thought and thought and thought, and now you have a belief. And it's very real to you, but we just have to say it's not true, because nothing is real that is outside of you, right, to define you. The truth of who you are is, in your essence, oneness. And so there cannot be any limitation. And so when we talk about this, we go into the three aspects, because for Jordan and I, a tagline for us is really having an identity transplant. And that we're not going to go into that right this second, but you have to learn to position yourself where everything is true and not in the lies. And then you can look at them, because they're going to come up, because they all, you guys have seen the picture of the iceberg, where it looks huge, but then down below, 95% of it is down below. And that's your subconscious in terms of an analogy. This 3D skin suit is only 5% of who you are. And that, to me, should really make us stand back and go, wow. And of that 5%, I'm going to focus on limitations and try to resolve them. No, you become very awake to them. So if we're going to bring anything forward, it's going to come from this place of attention. Where's my attention? Where am I focused in terms of my awareness? And because that's the first thing.
Well, and it's so interesting, and I want to stay there and hone in on that, but I want to kind of build a bridge here for something that I tried to do for so long and would butt my head against it. And it was, I believed that the self-sabotaging behaviors of the procrastinator, the fixer, the healer, of all these behaviors was what I would, if I could correct those and work on my, mental awareness of them, then I could be, the goal setting, I'm so happy and grateful now that I'm having. And again, everything of that was outside of myself. And so when you talk about the subconscious constraints, when we talk about all of the different roles, goals, and superpowers of our unconscious, our conscious, and our subconscious mind, superconscious mind, I think it's super important that we realize we're not solving your sabotaging behaviors. We're not here to give you the next, self-help declarative on what to do next with your life. We're here simply to transmit and disseminate truths of really remembering. We always will come back to this, like you said, remembering who we are. And so with that, can you give people the role, the goal, and the superpower of each of those aspects? Because it's super important.
Yes, absolutely. Because the limiting beliefs are there for a reason. And because your unconscious is so beautiful, it's designed to keep you safe.
Some may call that the ego.
No, the unconscious.
Oh, okay.
So your self-conscious is
self-conscious.
The self-conscious is the aspect of you that is in this 3D skin suit.
Okay.
So we began as pure creative spirit. And if you look at this, you can go, well, what do you mean by that? Well, we know the story of how you came in this world with a stork. No, your consciousness is all there is. And the miracle and some idea in your mom and dad's mind, you became embedded in your mother's womb, and you began the process of becoming an individual. And it's so interesting because at that time, the first automatic processes that came on in your body is the unconscious. It's designed to keep you not only safe, but alive. And so when you are in this, we're always going to be talking about how, this goal of this 3D skin suit is to have a great life.
That's the conscious mind.
Yes.
That's where we switch over. So the conscious mind,
which is you. It's who you are in this,
and that's what some people may call the egoic mind.
That's right.
Okay.
However, it is not the totality of you, and it's not your essence. But we, again, if we're anything, we're about humanity. We're not bypassing this beautiful representation of the divine, because that's what we really are. But we will always go to being in a problem-solving mode, trying to fix things, if we think this is all we are. So that's when you ask to bring in the 3 aspects. You're unconscious when you are talking about creating something. You're like, yeah, let's go build that business. You're all excited about it, and you start taking the next obvious action
from your conscious mind.
From your conscious
mind. Because as someone who's a go and doer, I get the spark of an idea and I'm like, heck yeah, I can do this. Let's go. That's where it all comes online for me. And I feel that energy of creating. However,
so your unconscious is go, whoa. I don't know if we can do that. We've never survived that. My job is to keep you safe. Mm-hmm. The cool part is this is a program. It's a software program, and it's trainable. And this is why you need to step into your sovereignty. This is why you need to understand the difference between a victim and a sovereign, the difference between the problem-solving structure and the creative structure. The sovereign trains the unconscious, hey, we're going to do this. I'm really excited, and you will be safe. You will survive. And you need to act in spite of the feeling, okay? Because the feeling is coming from the thought that you are not something. And so what we really have to start doing, what I love, is you say, I'm not enough. I'm not capable. No, I am not enough. Mm-hmm. I am not capable. I am. And it's not demonstrative and flair. It's just very kind and very tender to your unconscious.
Well, and this is a big piece of this that kind of put me at ease, is knowing that resistance is inevitable. Whenever we make a choice to become or have or do something new that we've never survived before, that resistance is going to be inevitable. So now it almost, for me, has become a game of, ooh, the resistance has come up. That means I'm closer. And I can kind of take a step back and coach my resistance and coach my subconscious mind to say, no, it's cool. We've never been here before, but I got you. You're safe, and we're moving forward.
Right. Yeah. And it's really having a relationship with it. And resistance is inevitable. And if you are living a life in the creative structure, you invite it. Because if you're not having resistance, you guys, you're staying in your comfort zone. And all of life, last week we talked about, what did we talk about last week? The word something suck.
Transitions don't have to suck.
And I said, if you are not in transition is all there is. Because the unknown is all there is. And you're going to have a very long life if you're not comfortable. First, they don't suck. Okay, when you are in the creative structure and you understand the aspects of consciousness, because the third one we're going to bring on board is called the superconscious. And it's the generator. It will, when you are training your subconscious, when you're sitting there saying, I'm going to do this in spite of it, you start following the breadcrumbs of the inspiration, of your intuitions, of coincidences, synchronicities, and you just stay in the course. We have 5 steps that we take people through. And then we also, because everybody goes, oh, let's take those 5 steps. But there's an inner game to the 5 steps. The outer steps we have, you choose an end result. Where do you want to go? What do you want to create? And oh, by the way, we don't create anything. What? We don't create anything. Everything is already created. You should really just love that. If you're out in the sun this weekend coming up, laying the sun, I don't create anything and feel really good about that. It's already created in the infinite field. And what we're bringing forward is what your role in the creation process is.
So that's where I was going to go, because so many people in my world of entrepreneurs.
Oh, you mean I don't have to do anything?
Like, what do you mean I don't create? I created my child. I created my business. I create
really?
my customer. No, not at all. But our mind is so programmed in that aspect to tax our ego with more than it's designed to do.
Well, we don't know anything different.
We don't. And so this is where it just becomes so freeing, you guys, to step into what we've coined the 5 steps to really it becomes playful. Mm-hmm. It becomes super playful, because each of these aspects, whether it's the unconscious, conscious, or super conscious, they get to play in their lane, and it's so freeing. And I say this as if I'm talking about things that are separate from you. It's all you. So you get to show up and fully play in each of these lanes and create from such
participate in it. But it is creating. I mean, it's word. We create, okay? But I just want you to know that it's already created in the infinite field. Mm-hmm. And it is, affirmations are great. Vision boards are great. But if you're doing a vision board and saying an affirmation from a place of, do I really believe this? And I'll be happy when, and then you have stepped out of that which will collapse the way. Because again, just basically everything exists in pure potentiality. And there is a thing called the observer effect. And they're really finding things. It's so clear. If you are not observing something, it does not exist for you. So our first step in our creative process, or our participatory process, is to declare what it is you want, to have a very clear intention. And a lot of people will not set a clear intention that is straightforward. Jordan and I talked about this. You set the intention and then you give your leeway if it doesn't work out.
Nope.
It's just I want to have, $1 million business. That's it. And it's not like, well, I'll start with 100 and then I'll go to 200 and then I'll go to $1 million, $1 billion. It doesn't matter what the number is. What matters is you are not in charge of it coming into form, other than this 3D skin suit staying in a state of being that knows it's done. Mm-hmm. It's done. Now, you still have your current reality, and this is step 2, is setting up structural tension. Well, yeah, I'd really like that $1 million business, but I can barely afford what do they call those ladies and gentlemen who help you? An AI or
a VA?
A VA. You're mine. So an assistant. I can't even have an assistant that'll help me. And you don't.
Or I'm $1 million in the bank, but I'm drowning in credit card debt.
Right.
Like whatever it is. I want a loving relationship, but my last 5 have been shit. I want my new home, but I barely can make rent on this current one. So whatever it is that we're going for,
you need to. The second step is creating structural tension, and and tension's a very good word here, and I'm going to go into that. But what you're creating is, to be very clear, you're loving where you're at. You see, we have a belief that it's not right. We have to not love where we're at to get where we want to be. It's the opposite. The state of being is totally accepting of where one's at. Because if you don't, it's all state of being, you guys. If you don't have this tender, bold love that who you are right now in your constraints, in your limitations, in your current reality, then you are a wannabe. And you are maybe I will never be. So you have to say, my current reality is just information from my state of being prior. And so I'm going to keep my state of being in a place where I'm just very clear that where I'm at does not define who I am.
And this takes us back to, which we want to hit over and over, who am I?
Oh, the truth of who you are in essence? Okay, I didn't. The truth of who you are in essence. You are the predominant creator force in your life. And what that means is, obviously, the sun and the moon and the stars all move not by anything other than the predominant creative force. But in your life, that's who you are. And this force is not I'm going to force it. It's just a power. And to know that, and to sit in that, and to train your subconscious, hey, this is safe. We're just going to take one obvious action at a time. And your superconscious, again, the portal, the superconscious is the field. Okay? It's everything is created through the superconscious. It's an aspect of our consciousness. They call it the quantum field, the infinite field of all possibilities, the divine mind, your higher mind, but it's an aspect of your consciousness, because if consciousness is all there is, that's who we are. Mm-hmm. When we die, when this 3D skin suit dies, your consciousness has never been born, will never die, has always been and will never not be. And so that is your superconscious. That will continue. And it's in charge of how it's going to happen. Oh my gosh, we just tax our little self with all these hows. We just have to have this open perception for when something, an intuition hits or a synchronicity. And they're not going to hit. And you're not going to see them if you're in a place of worry and doubt and all your sabotaging beliefs. That, remember, they're real. I mean, you experience them as real, but they're not true. And I love what A Course in Miracles says, and I might botch it, but, you know, everything, I'm going to botch it, so I'm not going to go, but basically it's what we are saying, that although they seem real, none of it is, and they're not truths at all. Mm-hmm. And no untruths exist. That's kind of what it says. Untrue, yeah. Nothing untrue exists.
Yeah.
And yet, if you don't have the consciousness of that, you're going to want to stay in the broken structure, because you get to be a victim.
Yep.
And, you know, victim can be very, very, I always think of myself, sneaky. It's a very sneaky thing, because I think I'm very sovereign. But if I'm ever needing someone to be different than they are, so I feel safe. That's what a victim is, you guys. A victim isn't a complainer, catastrophizer, someone who has concerns about everything, you know. It's not just that. A victim is someone who needs circumstances outside of themselves to be different than they are so they can feel safe. And this, what we're bringing forward to, is a lot to do with the nervous system. Your nervous system has to feel safe in order to surrender it to your superconscious. And so you have to be in a sovereign place. And all that means is nothing outside of me has the power that I have within me. So I am the sovereign of my life. And you start looking and seeing where you are, because you're gonna have resistance. You're gonna buy into it. We're not saying that anything's wrong with that. You're building the muscle.
How quick can you catch and reframe? Catch and reframe.
Or the movie, Catch and Release, right? You catch and release. And then you don't, here's the deal. I love this. You are not responsible for your first thought, because we have thoughts all day long. But the catch and release, you're responsible for the second thought and the first action. And if you think about that, the first thought, I don't think, this is what I believe, what I know to be true. Your first thoughts just come. We were created this way, so it has to be okay. But the school of remembrance, the school of recognition, is the first thought you get a pass. But the second thought, you've had time to pause. And we're really bringing forward that.
Pause and pivot.
Two of my teachers, Richard Rudd and David Guillaume, really talk about the pause. And it is a pivot. But a lot of people like to jump to the pivot before they pause. And the pause is to, whether you have to take a deep breath, it's just an acknowledgement that this just came into my awareness. And I'm not gonna make a move until I.
It's your own observer effect.
Yes, the observer effect is you.
Yeah.
You can only be observing your own reality.
Yeah.
And that's really important, because that, if we're talking about creation, Jordan, and being in a creative structure, it's your observation of what you want to create that starts it to come into form. Mm-hmm. And it's your observation of wanting to be awake, aware, and aligned with your state of being in a place of peace, right? Peace is your power. It's the new high vibe, really. And again, your nervous system has to be coherent with your mind, and your heart have to create a coherent nervous system. And it's just very delicious. And with ease, we can, create a life we love.
I love it. So good. So with that, as we kind of get into more and more topics, again, this is just what my mom and I talk about on a regular basis, going through the things that we go through. We will be bringing more conversation, more constructive structure to a lot of the aspects that we have created. And so if you guys want to be a part of that on a deeper level, rather than just catching a live here or there, make sure you click the link and go to our YouTube, subscribe, like, be a part of the vault, watch past episodes that we've done. And pretty soon here, I'm not going to give myself a timeline because I feel like I'll sabotage my way out of it. But pretty soon we'll start up our email list again. And then we'll be connecting more regularly with the Spiritual Bitch Slap Co. Again, if you want to go over to our Instagram, share these with anyone. That really helps us be able to go live over there and bring more of this content to the world, which is really one of the biggest things that we want to do. Even though we all exist in multiple lanes and create so many different things in our lives, it has to be done this way in this structure. So that's what we're bringing forward for so many people, including ourselves on a daily, regular basis. So with that, we love ya. Hope you enjoyed today sitting with Gigi and Jojo of the Spiritual Bitch Slap Co. And we will see you on our next live.
Thank you, guys. I just want to bitch slap her though. You mentioned that you will sabotage your way out unless you don't commit. That's the sabotage. You gotta
did it.
No, you gotta commit to a date. Okay.
All right.
And then your super conscious will
create
make it happen.
All right. I like it. By this time next week, we will have our live living list for you to be a part of our email list. And I'll be able to go like this. Click here. Join the email list.
There you go.
So what is today? Wednesday? By next Wednesday, y'all, we will create the most cool landing page for you guys to be a part of all of our new content and things that we're bringing forward. I love it. Yeah, Leah, put it out there. Love it. All right, guys, have a beautiful day. Bye.